Hello everyone, and welcome back to Let's Play Dragon Quest. We are back here in the town of Cole, but we're not going to be staying here for long. We're going to hightail it out of here, and we are going to mostly spend this episode making our way to the south, so that we can explore the eastern part of the map just a little bit more after we spent the first third of this Let's Play messing around on the west and northwestern part of the map and exploring a cave over there. So, we are going to be exploring another cave. This time to the east. We have to make our way through some damaging poison swamp tiles to get here, sadly, but they're not the most threatening thing in the world. So just make sure you heal up a little bit after you get inside here. Though I don't even know if I take my own advice. Maybe I don't heal right now, but gonna want to light a torch. No, I do heal up. Good job, past me. But yeah, as I was saying, we are going to be spending more time in a cave over here. Recently, I did learn that these caves actually do have proper names. The one to the east here is known as the Quagmire Cave, and the one to the west is known as the Craggy Cave, which I never actually knew that before. I don't know if they ever used those terms in the actual game. That might just be from side material and, you know, strategy guides from back in the day or stuff like that. I never actually really knew that they had proper names like that, so... You may have noticed that door we walked through. We're gonna be doubling back around after we find the cave's exit so that we can check out what's going on with that door. Right here, for now, what we mostly want to go through this cave for is just going from the northernmost entrance to the southernmost exit. It's pretty simple. It's not too hard to get through this area, even with the limited visibility. It's not particularly maze-like or complex. There's not too many dead ends. There's a few branching paths, but nothing too severe. So, yeah, for now we just really need to get through this area to get to the southernmost and middle part of the eastern overworld side. But I did want to show off something that is important that we are going to need to just kind of commit to memory and have saved in our internal database to reference a little bit later on, because there is something fairly important in this cave. So you may want to take note of that and just remember where this is for future endeavors when we're a little bit better equipped and can get through these doors when we have keys. So you may see off to the east there is a oddly rugged part of this cave, and it looks like there's an NPC that we can barely see through the torchlight there. So there's clearly something going on behind that locked door, and if you've been paying at all any attention to the NPC dialogue so far in this game, I'm sure you can put two on two together on who that would be locked behind a locked door in this cave system to the east here. But I don't want to spoil anything in this game's fantastic narrative, so we'll figure that out a little later on in this Let's Play. But for now, we are just going to make our way back to that southernmost exit and get the hell out of here. One more damage tile step you gotta take before we're free of this hell swamp area. And there we go, it's another skeleton. They're the same exact skeletons that we found all the way over to the west side of the map. You know, as they say, skeletons are the same no matter where you run into them. I think that's a lie, because I'm pretty sure there are stronger types of skeletons that we'll be running into later on in this game. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, you are going to run into another town to the south here after you kind of get around this crescent of mountains. And we are now in the town of Rimuldar, which is pretty cool. This place has some pretty kick-ass gear and some important items that we're going to want to make sure that we can... Excuse me. Little burpee that we can grab. Obviously gonna stay at the inn. Look at that, 69.9 gil. Not 699, 69.9. Though unfortunately we lost that by staying at the inn. Of course, gonna rummage around town and make sure we pick up whatever there is to pick up. And I believe we talked to Claire last episode. She's a NPC in Cole. And that's her husband. Still can't get through those locked doors. You may have noticed by now that there's a lot of frustrating locked doors that we just cannot make our way through. But we are going to find an item that lets us do that in a short amount of time. And did you see that NPC advertising for his family? Look at that. Early stage capitalism is what I call this. Using that child as a marketing mouthpiece makes me sick. And oh my god, speaking of capitalism, holy shit, look at this, look at the armor prices in this town. Yeah, we are now entering the part of the game where armor and weapon prices are going to get even more ridiculous, and it's going to take a while before we can afford any of this. I do know that some players, when they play through this game, they skip over certain pieces of gear just because it's not worth it to them to constantly grind up to get optimal equipment, but I never do that. I always just grind up for each of the pieces because, I don't know, I just think it's more fun that way, and I don't like going through some areas that are a little trickier with equipment that isn't that great because I want to save up for better stuff, so... Very nice of them to give us Chimera wings when we're so far away from the starting area of the game. So once again, apologies for going through that NPC text box a little too fast for comfort, but you know, he talked a little bit about you know, kind of building on the lore of Erdrick as a savior that came down from like the heavens or something like that, which is pretty interesting and will be kind of expanded upon in later Dragon Quest games. The thing that's kind of tricky about Dragon Quest is it's not like Final Fantasy where every game is its own standalone thing. These games do have a continuity. Well, some of them do, some of them are standalone, but some of them do tie in together. But the thing that's a little annoying to talk about with them is that sometimes those connections are meant to be like surprises in the game. Like you're supposed to go into some of them thinking that it's standalone, and then it kind of reveals like, oh, this actually ties into some of the past, you know, past stuff from other games, and it's a cool revelatory moment for the player. But just with kind of how internet discussions and how people talk about series like this nowadays, a lot of that has been just kind of spoiled over time, which is, I guess, kind of a shame because it kind of robs players of going through that, you know, going through that moment for themselves. But I'm gonna try to shut my mouth about connections and stuff and these Let's Plays, and I do say these Let's Plays because I do plan on doing more of these games in the future, you know, time be willing. That guy just gave us a very important tip too. Rimuldar, as much as it is a area full of good gear, is also an area full of good tips. That guy basically told us something very important for when we get to the final dungeon, about there being a hidden entrance that we need to look out for. So just keep that in mind. And this guy right here is the only thing in the game that reflects the fact that you got the Warrior's Ring. So if you have it on or off when you talk to this guy, the dialogue will change, which is pretty funny. Other than that, Warrior's Ring, again, serves no purpose. I probably should have thrown it out immediately after that conversation, but I hung on to it for a while, which was stupid of me because it just wastes an inventory slot. So yeah, this is the town in the game that I always mistook other towns for, because I always remembered, yeah, there's one town where you get to walk along the edges, and I kept checking it for all the past towns, and then awkwardly jumping back to the overworld map and then having to walk back inside. But this is the reason why, because it's actually really important in this town, because you need to do this so that you can go into this guy's shop and pick up some magic keys. And unfortunately, we're running out of space here for our character's inventory. Yeah, we're about to run into more and more stat-raising seeds, which is very nice. And unlike other RPGs, because we only have one party member, we don't have to worry about who we're going to give them to, so... In almost every RPG, I always just give seeds to, like, you know, stat-raising items like this to the main character. It's just something I've always done, unless, like, you know, depending on the game, like for Shin Megami Tensei games, for example, where the main character can't use magic and stuff, obviously I'm going to give that to another party member instead, but... So yeah, that's what our stats are looking like so far. Gonna chat with this guy and gonna buy some magic keys for 16 gold coins, which, pretty good deal. I believe this is the cheapest spot in the game for buying them. There are a few other vendors of magic keys in this game, but this guy got the best prices. So yeah, I believe you can hold up to 6 at once, same with the medicinal herbs. And we're going to make our way all the way down to the south again so that we can talk to Roderick here. And he gives us another tip. So I already talked about this last episode because we got to Cole and there's obviously a tile on the ground with a shining object, which we picked up, and it was the fairy flute. And I believe I talked about this last time around too, but... In the previous versions of this game, or at least the original version of Dragon Quest, the tile in Cole with the fairy flute did not glow at all. It just looked like a tile. So without that hint, you would have never known to check there for an item. So that is something that I do want to talk about, and I think, you know, as much as I love when old games like this get re-released and kind of updated for a modern audience, sometimes I do have to admit I get a little frustrated when they trivialize their own design or kind of simplify. Not even simplify, because I think a lot of the time simplification for these older games is a good thing, but yeah, trivializes, I guess, is a good word to use. When it trivializes its own design and kind of takes out some of the mystery and adventure and hardship that the player would otherwise have to go through and kind of figure things out for their own, I don't like that as much. I think that kind of takes away from the character of the game, and I would much rather that they leave that tile just kind of innocuous and you wouldn't even know that anything is hidden there until you talk to that guy. I just think that these games are a little more interesting with those types of mysteries in them that you kind of need to work at figuring out. You know, it makes it feel more like an adventure. I know I kind of said that already, but I think I was just doing another pass to look for any hidden doors or anything like that, but I think the only ones here were the ones in the inn, really. So yeah, gonna go all the way back over to that shop so that we can pick up some more magic keys, and then we're gonna make our way a little bit down to the south because, as I was talking over a lot of the NPC dialogue in this game, you may have picked up on a NPC who told us about a important sanctum to the south, so we're gonna want to probably check that out in a little bit here. But first, let's just kind of explore around the overworld map and get a feel for what's going on here. Obviously, more skeletons. And there's a bridge denoting that, you know, enemies are going to get way more hellish a little bit to the south, which is never a good thing. Look at that, it's the Scarewolf. It's like a werewolf, but red and scary. These things are a little annoying because they can do that. They can fizzle. Good timing, Scarewolf. Yeah, these things can do some serious damage to you, just physically, and then also they can use fizzle on you, which makes it so that Aleph cannot use his own magic, which can put you in a little bit of a pickle. Because if you're low on HP, and then you're not allowed to use your healing spell, the only thing you really got left to use for healing yourself up and making sure you don't die is medicinal herbs. And medicinal herbs do not do as good of a job at healing you as the heal spell does proper, so yeah, these things can kind of fuck you over sometimes, but they're not too bad if you have good armor. Though, as you can see, it gets a little dicey sometimes. Can be a little bit unfortunate. So close to taking this thing out, but he's also very close to taking us out, but there we go. A little bit of a slugfest there, but sometimes that's what these devolve into. And we reached level 9, which I want to especially highlight because we get one of the more important spells, and holy shit, we got a lot of MP to go along with our new spell, which is nice. We got the glow spell, so I checked my inventory right away here, not only because I wanted to heal up with my medicinal herbs, but also because I wanted to make sure I didn't have any torches in my inventory, because now that we have the glow spell, we don't ever really need to fuck around with torches ever again. Because what the glow spell does is it basically does the same thing as a torch, but better. It allows us to see in the dark in, you know, caves and stuff like that, but it has a even larger sphere of visibility around the character when you cast it, so I guess maybe you can, you know, I don't know. I guess maybe if you really want to be cautious, you can bring along a torch or two just in case your glow spell runs out and you're low on MP or something, but you don't really need to. I'd say you'd be fine if you don't buy torches for the rest of this game. Though, frankly, they are cheap, but, you know, it's just kind of a practicality thing because they do waste an inventory slot, and as you saw a little bit earlier, we're a little low on inventory space in this game. You know, Aleph is only one guy. He can only carry on to so many things at once, I suppose. Needs like a big luggage bag. I almost pronounced luggage really weird there. He needs like a big luggage bag to roll around behind him. Look like a tourist. So yeah, I wanted to go to the south and explore the southeasternmost part of this map a bit this episode, and then that didn't happen because what ended up happening was we ran into this gold golem who I tried putting to sleep, and you know, as we discussed when we first got the sleep spell, not a great job of actually putting things to sleep for more than one turn. So yeah, we ate shit there, but I promise that death totally intentional. That was not me fucking up or miscalculating or being misguided in my character's stats and abilities. That was totally intentional because it sent us all the way back to the starting area in Tantagel Castle here. Even though it cost us half of our hard-fought for and hard-earned gold. Totally intentional. It's a speedrunning tactic, if you will. Just think of it as a fast travel mechanic. So now that we have a key, we can explore more of this castle, and this guy is going to judge our character for breaking into the storage facility in the castle here and just taking all of this stuff. But you know, what good is a stat-raising seed if no one's gonna eat that damn thing? It's no good locked. It's not helping anyone locked in a box like that, so we might as well take it for ourselves. And if he wants to complain about it, well, that's his fault. Just keep popping those seeds. Got a lot more MP than we started this episode with already. And see, look at that. 343 gold. That already more than makes up for... Not really. We're still behind, but, you know, we lost about 450 gold or so from that ridiculously silly death earlier on in the episode. But, you know, it was kind of a nice compensation for our expert galaxy-brained speedrun tech that we pulled off there. Talk to these people a little bit. Get a hint about the whereabouts of the castle dungeon. And this holy guy over here does a kind of nice thing. He plays the church organ for us, and then we are just filled with motivation and the Holy Spirit, and we're just completely healed, which we're gonna need because these damage tiles are not fucking around. But this guy has some good info for us, so we're gonna be very careful and walk across these tiles, and then talk to this guy. And he sees that we're worth our salt, so it gives us a little hint here. So we're gonna need to press upon the wall of darkness in Galenholm. And now, you know, we're gonna walk back and grossly misjudge our character's remaining health and how much damage those tiles were actually doing, and foolishly get our second death this episode to a damage tile of all things, which is very silly. I know a lot of RPGs with damage tiles, what they do is that the damage tile will actually bring you to 1 point of health, but not actually kill you. Not Dragon Quest. You are definitely going to eat shit if you miscalculate like I just did right there. So, yeah, that was very... I can't even pretend to make that make sense. That was just me being an idiot. Sorry about that. Oh well. At least we died and, like, immediately respawned back upstairs, though we also lost a shit ton of money in the process. Again. So... what can you do? And of course all these doors are locked again now, so that's kind of silly. So yeah, you keep seeing that prophecy get repeated by all the NPCs, so just an important thing to keep in mind. And this guy's a big fan of us. So much of a fan that he's been waiting in this castle dungeon the whole time. Just waiting for us to show up. And there we go, we got one of the 3 major items we need to reach the final area of the game, the Sunstone, so that's good. Yeah, it's fair. Have a good long rest, buddy. It must be hard having your life's purpose be to make sure a Sunstone is kept locked away and safe in in a castle dungeon. That seems like kind of a rough life. But, you know, while we're here, we're going to steal this guy's shit, too, while he's dying of fatigue. You know, he's got some cool seeds and medicinal herb and shit like that. I think this guy's a little too old to be puffing on that medicinal herb, if you catch my drift. I think it's better served for someone like us, who is full of life and can benefit greatly from the mind-enhancing features of the medicinal herb. And yeah, I decided to chuck that Chimera Wing so that I could grab whatever was in that chest, that Seed of Life there. Alright, so we went through all of Tantegel Castle, and we explored all the locked rooms there. So let's go over to the town and just see what's, all locked up over here as well. Might as well, right? Since we're so close. So we can talk to this guy now. Alright, so fairies help golems fall asleep. Good thing to know. ASMR fairies, I like to call them. When I fall asleep at night listening to ASMR, as I frequently do these days, I like to think of myself as a golem and whoever I was listening to as a fairy-like creature, so... That sounds a lot creepier than I expected it to come out as, I'm sorry. So there's that guy all the way to the northeasternmost part of the map, and I don't even remember what he says, and I'm pretty sure that this entire Let's Play, I just completely forgot about ever talking to him, so just kind of headcanon your own dialogue for that guy. I think his dialogue implies that he's drunk, but I don't exactly remember. Which, fair, considering, the whole situation with the Dragon Lord, and the fact that the world is about to be invaded by demonic fiends. If there's ever a time to hit the bottle, it'd be then. So yeah, as we heard about, we are going to need to press upon the Wall of Darkness in Gallenholm, which is a very fancy way of saying that the developers put a hidden exit in this large building that was previously locked to us. And that guy's like, I know where it is, but I'm not telling you. And this guy knows his priorities. He's like, hey, the world's ending. Who gives a shit about stealing property? See, this guy's woke. That is a very funny joke that I respect the devs for having a lot. We literally just opened that we literally just opened that door to get another key. Thanks, Grandma. And we're going to go into the Grave of Galen. See you next episode.